So we're on the top of the Mem Aleph, it is Mem Aleph. And relatively easy Gemara. I'm PTC Peter Shalploni. So we had the Dinavanis Mafata, and here the case is where somebody's moidi. He comes on his own, there's no Edim, and he comes on his own and he says, I have to pay. This is the famous halacha that moidi b'knas is potter, that if someone's moidi, he admits, so if it's a moment, he has to pay. But if it's knas, there's a special din that moidi b'knas is potter. Rashi brings down the source of that. Asher Hashin Elohim, Pratam Mashiach Satzma, the pasuk where it talks about being chayiv. Over there, it's mashma that only if Bezdin is forcing him, but if he himself comes and admits, so then he doesn't have to pay. And since the boishas pagam, that's regular damages, the shame that he caused during the pagam, the nezek, the devaluation, as we said before, so that he does have to pay. But the knas of 50 kesef, that's a knas, and why the knas is potter. The rest of the Mishnah is going to be just another few cases about L'chorah, Agav. Also, Dinim of Moed B'Knas is Potter. Moed B'Momen is Chai, Moed B'Knas is Potter. He admits that he stole. So the Karen surely has to pay. The principal that he stole, that's Momen. But anything which is a Knas, like Kefil, double that he has to pay, or if it was a sheep or a cow that he slaughtered or sold, then he has to pay 4 or 5 times. That's a knas. And even though he's moida knas is potter. The third case, hey Meshawi is pliny, or Shawish al pliny. He admits that my ox killed somebody, and that's the din of koifer. That over there it says that he has to pay the value, the value of the mazik, the value of the nizik, but he has to pay the value for that's called koifer. So that's money he has to pay. Rashi says that's not so simple, but our Mishnah holds koifer mamayla, and therefore he has to pay. Or another case, Shawish al pliny. If he admits my ox killed somebody else's ox, that's surely money. He has to pay money for that value. So that's Harezim Mishal Mal Piatzmoy. Then he has to pay on his own because the moment is potter. That's regular moment. But Hey Mishawi Abdish al pliny. But if he admits that my shor killed somebody's eved, and that the pasuk says he pays shloshim shikolim, and that's a standard. It doesn't depend on the value of the eved, no matter how much he's worth. He pays a standard. That the Mishnah says is knas. Because whenever you pay more than the damages, that's considered a knas, and therefore you don't pay on your own because the knas is potter. The case of here was that the 50 knas of Anisim Mafata is a knas because it's more than he damaged, because he pays the bosh supagam, he pays the damages, and this is besides that, so that's a knas. And the case of kefel double or dalet vehei is also surely more than he damaged, so that's knas. And here the case of shloshim shalavet, sometimes it's going to be more. If the evidence was worth less than shloshim, he still has to pay shloshim. So that's a raya that it's a knas, even though sometimes the evidence might be worth more and he'll be paying less. But since sometimes it's going to be more, that shows that it's a knas. So what does the Mishnah say in a word? Moed b'knas is potter. The Mishnah is strange that it picked the case of Pito. We said Onis Mufata, the whole paragraph. Onis Mufata. This is one of the Mishnahs about, yeah. Rashi brings down the pasuk that it says in Baba Kama Ayin Hey must be the sugi over there also. So that's the Mishnah of the B'Knas is potter. The Mishnah, the first case that it gave was PTC, and l'chor for the same money, it could have said Anasti is Peter Shaploni. Both of them are Knas. Both of them there's a boishas of Bagam and Anas even has Tsar also. Those surely has to pay Al Piatzmo. But then there's a knas both by Anas and Mafata. So why did the Mishnah go out of its way to say PTC? He should have said a simple case of Anasti. Taisa says it even might have been a bigger chiddush. That even though he says he's doing something very wrong, Anas is worse than a Mafata. He forced her, he mamish raped her. So that would have been a big chiddush to say that he is Neman, and he even though he's Neman, he doesn't have to pay the knas. So why doesn't it say Anas? Why does it say Mafata? They're listening Anasti. So the Mishnah says it's a chiddush. Let me buy a kama. It's a chiddush. It wants to say a chiddush. Let me buy a nasti the local pagum law. The mishalim bosh sivagam al piatzmo. Al pitisi the kapagum law. Emelo mishalim al piatzmo. That when he says he did it against her will, so he's not saying anything bad about her. Of course, she's not happy that the people say about her that she was raped. But it would have been it's much worse when they say about her that she was seduced. That means that she agreed to it. She did bad. She agreed to duznus. So that's considered a pagam on her. So you might think that you're not going to believe him to take the money, even if the bush is a pagam. It's true. On the knas, whether the knas is potter, there's no difference. Onis mafata could have said the same chiddush that there's potter both ways. And Taish says it's even a bigger chiddush that the onis is going to be potter, whether the knas is potter. But the chiddush is in the bush is a pagam that is chayiv. You might think that better not to take the money from him, because if you take the money, it sounds like you're enforcing the bad rumor that he's making. he's saying a bad rumor that he said that he seduced her. She doesn't say, Chara doesn't say that it's true. I think that Gemara came out just in preparation of this Gemara, that Chara says here, when a woman is pater, it doesn't necessarily mean that you believe him on the facts. He says, I was mefater. What if she says it didn't happen? She says something didn't happen. Also, he has to pay really because he says he's chayiv, even though she denies it, but he says I'm chayiv to pay. So we make him pay not because we believe him on the facts, but because he says I have to pay. Now by her taking the money, it's reinforcing the rumor about her. He says I seduced her, and Bezdin says you have to pay money. By Bezdin saying you have to pay money, that sounds like they're believing him, and it's going to make a rumor about her. It's going to say that she really was seduced. Maybe we shouldn't accept the money. Maybe we shouldn't take money from him and say, go home, leave us alone, because you're making up a story. Maybe it's better for her not to get the money. That since he says it's chayav to pay the money, we do force him to pay the money. And I think even if she says it's not true, even if she says never happened, but since he says it's chayav to pay, he says it did happen, so he has to pay, and not necessarily do we believe him on the story. I think so. And Adi Gemara says that that's a very nice shot, and even so much is so that somebody argues in the Mishnah. Someone says this Farah and says that he does not pay because we don't want to make the rumor about this girl. Masis and Dolki Tana, our Mishnah is really against the Tana who argues. The Tana of Shimon ben Yudah and Bishim of Shimon. Why? That we don't believe him that he should cause a pagam, a damage, a deficiency in that girl by taking the money, by making him pay. It's going to be as if we're saying that it's true that she was seduced, and if she denies it, so we're not going to accept the money. And our Mishnah says you do, and I think the pshat is that you do take the money, but you don't believe him. And even though there's going to be a rumor about her, the money's coming to her because he admits it, even though we don't believe him, and she says it's not true. Still, he has to pay the money. Reb Shimon says not. Reb Papa seems to be asking according to Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon says that you don't take the Bosh's Pagam because it shouldn't make a bad rumor about her. What if she says, I'd rather take the money? I need the money. Not that she admits that it happened, but she says that I'm happy to take the money. And if there's a people talk about me, what can I do? I'd rather get the money than not, even though it's at the expense of taking people talking about me.
Just go right away when she gets married. Let's say she gets married to somebody else, she's going to have to deal with 1 month or 2 months. Whether she gets 100 or 200.
I think she should get 200. Why she should get 100? Why is there strong belief? One man said about it. One man's not believed, and Eidach is not believed. I would think so. I would think so. As far as the Namona, she's not believed. Eidach.
How about Mary Khan? There you go.
Well, if he's a puzzle person, you're saying if he's a puzzle, if he's a kosher person, then even if if it's a kosher Jew, then he's kosher to Kohen anyway. Just because she was nivala to a kosher doesn't make that she wasn't married. So, but if he'd be a puzzle person, so I think that wouldn't be believed to puzzle. I think so. Maybe we'll investigate it more, but she says the whole thing is not true. But and our Papa says, what if she says, I'd rather get the money? According to Reb Shimon says she doesn't get the money because we don't want to make a rumor. She says it's okay, I need the money. Maybe the father's not happy about it. The father doesn't want to make the rumor, even though she doesn't mind getting a rumor about it, but the father doesn't like people are talking about his daughter. What if the father says, we need the money? He's also willing to take the money. Maybe the other relatives are not happy about it. So Shimon will say, don't take Bezdin shouldn't enforce the rumor because some of the family is going to be affected by it. But if the whole family here, they all say it's okay, well, we need the money. It's impossible that there's not some relative that is not happy about it. There might be a relative someplace else, and Bezdin can't do something that's going to enforce the rumor against the will of some relative. And that's what Shimon holds. We don't pass like Shimon. This almost explains Shimon. Shimon says that since it's going to enforce the rumor, so we don't listen to his hodah, even as far as the money goes. But our Mishnah doesn't say that. Our Mishnah says that you do make him pay the boshes of pagam, just more the bekanas's potter, but more the bamamin is chayiv. And I think that the Mishnah, according to what the Gemara says, even if she says that it's not true, even if she says it's not true, still he has to pay because he says that it did happen. The rest of the Gemara, whoever learned Baba Kama is going to be very familiar about Palganiska Kanasa, Palganiska Mamona. This is the famous sugya. The whole Gemara now is a famous sugya in Baba Kama. So the Gemara starts. We're going to see why it came in to our sugya now, because it's going to be relevant to bring a proof from our Mishnah. The Gemara is going to bring a proof from our Mishnah. So we'll start the sugya. We'll come back. Eventually, we'll come back to our Mishnah again. It has nothing to do with Dibra Maskali Ganafti. That's not Ganafti. We're going on the next case where it says, "Hey, Mishori as Ploni or Shorish Ploni." We're going on the etc. The reason why it brings down the Mishnah is the etc. that it says over here. Itma, we learned over there about Bakama, Palganiska. There's a din of Chatzi Nezek. What's the din of Chatzi Nezek? When an ox, somebody's animal damages. So the first 3 times it's called a tam, which you might say that has an innocent, or maybe the word tame. I'm not sure if tam is like tame. It's an innocent, it never gored before. So then Torah says only pays Chatzi Nezek. Only has to pay half the damages. And that's the first 3 times. The 4th time he already has to pay the full damages. That's called the tam and a mu'ah. The tam is the first 3 times, it only pays half damages. And the 4th time it pays full damages. And the Gemara has a question, what is the mechanics of this half damages? Why should he pay half damages? Is it money? Is it the monetary payment, or is it a penalty? The fact that a person pays Chatzi Nezek, is it because he has to pay? It's Menadin he should pay, as the Gemara is going to say, really he should pay the whole thing, but he pays half. And or is it a knas? Really, he shouldn't pay anything, and we penalize him. Torah penalizes him that he should have to pay half the damages. And the Gemara explains each side. The Papa holds that most oxen are wild; they're expected to gore. If someone has an ox, even though never gored yet, he has to know that oxen gore. So therefore, he should be watching it. It's not b'cheska shimur. It's not assumed that it's a guarded ox, which means on its own it's not going to do anything. You have to be chushish, it's going to gore. Oxen gore. So therefore you should have been watching it, and you should be responsible for the damages that it did even the first time. Over dinner the Mishal Kulei, really you should have to pay the whole thing. And the Torah had compassion upon they shouldn't pay, because since it never happened, it wasn't warned, it didn't become a muad yet. So even though he should have expected, theoretically he knows that oxen do gore, but until it actually happens 3 times, so we understand him at least, and therefore the Torah was more lenient upon that only should pay half damages. But really, what he does pay is minadin. He has to pay it. It's coming that he should pay. Really, he should pay the whole thing. But the Torah took away half for Rahmanas on him. But the fact half that he does pay is because really he should pay. That's one way to look at it. The fact that he pays Chatzi Nezek is only a knas. Why is that? Because that most oxen are not expected to gore. So when someone has an ox, he has no reason to watch it because it's not expected to gore. Within the cloud, really, he shouldn't have to pay anything because he's not expected to gore. The Torah penalized him in order that the Torah wants that he should watch his ox, even though naturally a person will not watch his ox because he knows that they're all calm and oxen don't usually gore. But the Torah does want to make sure that he does watch it even before it gores. So the Torah said, if it's going to gore, you're going to have to pay not the whole nezek, but half the nezek. That's going to cause people to watch their oxen. So far, we just had an introduction about the sugya. This is machlokas from the Beit of Yeshua. The fact that a tam, that ox, the first 3 times that it gores, it pays half damages. Is it a momon or is it a knas? Machlokas. And now the Gemara continues to bring proofs. This 2 dots doesn't belong here. The 2 dots is just like a brackets. It wants to put the simon in brackets. There's the 4 words of a simon. It's a mnemonic to remember the 4 rights that the Gemara is going to bring. Hizlik, ma, hemus, kalal. That's just a simon. As we'll see soon, it's going to be a way to remember the 4 proofs that the Gemara is going to bring about the subject. And now it starts the proofs Tanan. So it's not a new sugya, it's a continuation of the sugya before. We just have a simon about what the Gemara is going to be talking about.
The first 2 dots does hold, not the second 2.
No, take out all the 2 dots. Make the 2 dots into a brackets. Here.
Oh.
It's just the brackets. That's all it is. That's all the Gemara meant. Oops, I'm sorry. That's what the 2 dots mean. So into the sugya, Tanan. This is a Mishnah in Baba Kama. Those are the words. What do those words mean? The words mean that both the one who's damaged and the damager, they partake in the payment. Usually who pays? The mazik. The mazik is the one who pays. But here it says that the nizik also partakes in the payment. What does that mean?
Half.
What?
He covers half and
right. So that the one thinks that's a pshat. The fact that he loses half, that means he's also partaking in the payment. But the Gemara is going to say that depends if it's mamon or knas. If the payment that he does pay is because really it's coming, really he should pay the whole thing. And the Torah says, but if Torah's compassion, don't pay half. So it means that nizik is losing half of what's really coming to him. I know the shach nizik for tashlumin. That makes sense that the nizik is part of the tashlumin because really he should get the whole thing, and he's getting only half. That means that he's also partaking in the payment. If really he shouldn't pay anything because he's not expected to watch the show, and really the nizik should lose everything. So why is that called that the nizik is partaking? He really shouldn't get anything. He's even which is not coming to him, he takes, means he gets a bonus. He gets half the damages for free. Really, it's like it happened. Nobody's responsible. If the shore would have gotten damaged from lightning, so nobody did it, and he lose that. It's not coming to him. It's not called a payment. So the fact that the owner pays the half is not because it's a loss to the nizik. The nizik should have lost everything. So if even what he gets is only a present to him, so could you call it that he's losing? He's partaking in the payment. Again, the words inside. If you're so that's called that the nizik is also part of the payment. But if you're he's even getting what's not coming to him. The tashlum and nisei, is he considered part of the payment? So that's the most kasha. The more I want to bring a right from here that chatzi nezek mamona, because if halganiska knasa, then it doesn't make sense that the nizik is partaking in the payment. He's not partaking in the payment. He's getting it for, half the payment for free. Does it make sense to you? No? If
the mazik or the owner of the ox?
the owner of the ox, he's getting half. He shouldn't get anything.
Who?
The nizik, the owner of the cow, really, if you're halganiska knasa, they really shouldn't get anything. He doesn't deserve to get anything because the mazik says, I didn't do anything. My ox shouldn't have gored. I don't have to watch it. So really shouldn't get anything. And the Torah says a knas that he has to pay half. But that's not called that the nizik is partaking in the payment because he lost half. He should have lost everything. I didn't do anything. So that the Gemara thinks is a proof that Palgan is kamamona. The fact that it says that the nizik also partakes in the tashtum, that means that he should have gotten the whole thing. But the Gemara is going to be matchel raya. We could explain the Mishnah differently. That's something else. There's a different thing that it doesn't say Farish what he partakes. In what way does he partake of the payment? There's something else he partakes in the payment. What is that? Chas nevela means the deterioration of the carcass. There was a live cow and it got gored and it died. And how much does mazik have to pay? The difference between the live cow and the dead cow. That's the damages. The dead cow is still here. It's still worth something. The veil is worth something. You give it to a dog food company. It's worth something. So the damages is the difference between the live cow and the dead cow. If you hold chatzi nezek, then it's going to be half of the damages. All that is called the damage. Now, there's the carcass. Who takes care of that? Who's responsible for that? So the mazik just has to pay the difference between the live cow and the dead cow. And now the nizik, we tell the nizik, here's your dead cow. Go take it home. Get a tow truck. Take it home, give it call the dog food company, they should come and pick it up. But that's your business. He didn't take care of it, and it gets worth less, it gets deteriorated. So whose loss is that? That's the loss of the nizik. That's a chiddush that is considered a loss of the nizik. That's where the nizik is partaking in the tashlumin, that is his business to take care of the carcass. If we say the mazik has to take care of it, then it's going to be his loss. But it's not. It's that we put it onto the nizik, he's the one who has to take care of the nevela, of the carcass. And therefore, that's what it means in the Mishnah. That nizik or mazik with tashlumin. If you make it a little bit cooler to get some more action over here. That's what the Mishnah means. It's not a proof to say. It's not a proof to the point about chatzi nezek if it's a knas or a moment. Really, you can say that it's a knas. But the thing that it says over here that there's a nizik is also partaking in the payment is that he has to suffer the deterioration of the nevela. So there's a problem with that we have another Mishnah about that. Chas nevela tanina. The Mishnah says that already. Over there it says another Mishnah. Here's how the Mishnah goes: Tashlum nezek malamed shabayil metaklum benevela. That's a Mishnah over there, and it has some code words, and the words are tashlum nezek. And those words, the Gemara explains, the Bryce explains that the baal means the owner of the cow, the nizik. He's the one who has to take care of the nevela, which is the same thing. Both of them are saying the same thing. If you say that the words before, when it says hanizik v'mazik v'tashlumin, means that the nizik is the one who suffers the loss of the deterioration of the nevela. So the Mishnah says that 2 times because it says tashlumin nizik means that the owner of the cow is the one who has to take care of the carcass. That's another way of saying that it's his loss if it deteriorates. So why does the Mishnah have to say the same thing twice? It must be that the first Mishnah has come to tell you that palgan is mamona and the half nizik is already considered that he's suffering half of the tashlumin. The Gemara says, no, both of them are telling you the din of chas nevela, chad b'tam v'chad b'muad, and tzricha. The Mishnah is coming to tell you 2 times the same thing, to tell you that both by a tam and by a muad, the nizik is the one who's responsible to take care of the carcass, and if it deteriorates, it's his business. With tzricha, there's a chiddush to say both by a tam and by a muad. This is as far to say that it only applies to one, not the other. The ashmin and tam, Mishum de'ekati la'ayayid, aval muad ayayid emolo. Maybe by muad, the mazik is more responsible, that he was warned already 3 times and he still didn't take care of it. Maybe then we're going to say, you take care of the nevela. Kamash Malan, that even by a muad also was still the responsibility of the nizik. Yashmin and muad, if we don't say by muad, mishum de kamashal and kule, alatame malo, tzricha. You might say that the fact we put it onto the nizik, that chas nevela is only by muad because anyway he's getting paid in full. But by a time he's only getting paid half, we might say to the mazik, at least take care of the nevela. Kamash Malan, both by a time and by muad, both of them we say that the nevela is on the nizik, it's his responsibility, and if it deteriorates, it's his loss. But there's no proof to our question. So what happened so far? We had one proof that we thought the Mishnah in Baba Kama that says a nizik by mazik b'tashlumin. We thought that it means that nizik suffers half the loss, which would mean palganis kamamona. But Gemara's malchar right that it means chas nevela. It's not a right to our question. So that was Ryan number 1. Now goes Ryan number 2, and that is on a second wide line. Tashma. It says in the Mishnah, ma bein tam lamuad shatam. I'm sorry, got the wrong one. Didn't underline it well. Try again. No, doesn't go. Okay, missed it. Fine. So it's on the second wide line. Tashma. Ma bein tam lemud. What is the difference between tam and mud? Tam we said is the first 3 times, and mud is after that 4. That's the Mishnah, and it says 2 differences between tam and mud. One is that a tam pays only half damages, and the mud pays full damages. The other difference is that the tam only pays migufo, only pays from how much from the actual mazik. Means if there's a shore that's worth $100 and it was mazik $500, so if it's a tam, it doesn't have to pay even half the damages. Half damages would have been $250, but the whole shore is only worth $100. It doesn't pay more than its own essence, its own self. By more, that has to pay for the damages, full damages, even if it's more than the mazik was worth. But by a tam, it only pays half damages maximum, and even that, it only pays if it has within its own body the value of that half damages. But if it doesn't, he doesn't have to pay from his pocket. He only pays from the value of the shore. Shatam Mishal said those are the 2 things that it says. 2 differences between a tam and a muad. Tam pays half damages only from the animal itself, and a muad pays full damages even from aliyah. Aliyah, which means from what does aliyah mean? From the best, or it means from the attic, from his bank account. He pays from his pocket. But the question is, why doesn't it say a third difference? It could be more differences. If you say that it's knas, so then there's another difference that a muad would pay on his own admittance because the moed b'mammon is chayiv, but moed b'knas is potter. If you say that that payment of a tam is a knas, so then he doesn't pay if he's moed. So why doesn't it say that? The fact that it doesn't say it, there's a proof that it's also mammon. This is Ryan number 2, that is mammon. How come it's so hot? Is the heater on?
It's very cool here.
Okay, as long as everybody's happy. No, I don't mean to make it. I don't mean
the blow.
as long as everybody's comfortable. I didn't mean to say that. But as long, okay, so that was the second ride that you see Palganiska Mamona. Because if it's Palganiska Kanasa, it should have said there's another difference between a tam and a muad, that a tam does not pay if he's moda. But the Gemara says also not impressed with this proof. Tana B'Shia, sure, could have said that. They could have said, but it left out one thing. It left out something. It's true. It's another difference that a tam doesn't pay on his own admittance. But the Gemara says, my shai, the high shai. It has to have something else also. Then it has to have something. It never leaves out one thing. If it's an exhaustive list, it's not going to say besides one thing it left out. If there are a few things that are left out, okay. But if only one thing that are left out, that's not normal. Shayir chatzi kofer. There's another thing that are left out. What's chatzi kofer mean? If an animal gores a person and kills him, so then a muad has to pay kofer. We said that's the value of the person. But how? If you hold that a tam pays chatzi kofer, so then that's already included. That it says that a tam pays half and a muad pays whole. But if a tam doesn't pay any kofer, so that's considered another difference. It should have said another difference that a muad pays kofer and a tam doesn't pay any kofer, not even half. And it doesn't say that. Since it doesn't say that, so we have 2 things that are left out. It left out this din of that it doesn't pay al piatzmo because it's a kanas, and also it doesn't pay chatzi kofer. So it's no proof. Again, the Gemara wanted to be a raya that palganiska mamona, but the Gemara said it's not a raya. We could explain this Mishnah that it could have said this other difference about palganiska kanas also. It doesn't say it because it left out other things also. Even Shem Chatzi Kofa Lav, now the Tosfos explains that the Gemara is now on the defense because now you can turn the tables. That if you say the Palganiska Mamona, then it only left out one thing. It only left out Chatzi Kofa. And how come only left one thing? That should be right. Palganiska Knasa. Now the tables turned. The Gemara says even Shem Chatzi Kofa Lav Shiurahu Ha Ramani Abiyosek Lili Hidam Matam Mishalim Chatzi Kofa. That wouldn't be a raya either way, because there is a Tana that says that a Tam does pay Chatzi Kofer. That's why it doesn't leave it out, because it does say it. It says that Tam pays half, Muad pays whole. So that's already included in the difference that it said Chatzi Nezek Nezek Sholem. So this was try number 2. The Gemara tried to bring a proof that Palganiska Mamona, and it was not a successful proof. Again, we still might hold Palganiska Knasa. Now we get to the second line, and this is the right from our Mishnah. This is the way why the Hoseki comes in, because in our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said, let's go back to our Mishnah again, and we'll see the two for the point that Gemara wants to bring. In this case of him, Shorias Ploni, Shorish Ploni. We're going on this case, Shorish Ploni. My ox, he comes into Bezdin, my ox killed my fellow man's ox. He pays on his own. Was it the first time offense, or what if it was the first time offense? If it was the first time, that's what we're talking about. Is it called a knas or is it called mammon? If you say it's the first time offense, he's a tam, and it says that he does pay, that means palganiska mamona. Because if it would be a knas, then he wouldn't have to pay. And the Gemara is assuming it's even talking about a tam. It says if he comes into Bezdin, my ox for, so then he has killed Shoresh Ploni, Hamish Shoresh Ploni, so he has to pay. Why does he have to pay? More than the knas is potter. That's what the Gemara's proof is. Tashma, Hamish Shoresh Ploni, Shoresh Ploni. We're talking about the Shoresh Ploni. Why does he pay? My lab betam. And still it says he has to pay because you see Palganiska Mamona. If Palganiska Knasa, he shouldn't have to pay. Mother Knas is potter. The Gemara says no, it's not a proof. Although the Muad, it could be talking about a Muad. The Mishnah is talking about a Muad, and there surely it's moment. But then a Knami by the time he wouldn't pay because it's a Knas, and Mother Knas is potter. But that the Gemara is bothered. Why does the Mishnah go on to say a case of Knas when the Mishnah wants to say the next case, a case of Knas? It went to a case of Shloshim Shalevet. How does the Mishnah find the case of Knas? Hamish Shoresha Avdosh Ploni. It contrasted Shoresh Ploni. That's only moment to Shoresh to Avdosh Ploni. That's Knas because Shloshim Shalevet. If you say that even by a shore killing another shore, also sometimes it's going to be Knas. So the Mishnah could have stayed by a case of the killing an ox and still say that there's a case where you don't pay because it's a Knas, because it's a Knas, Modib Knas. That's the most kasha. Why doesn't it say so in the Mishnah? You want to say that if it would be a time they wouldn't pay on his own admittance because it's a knas. Why go to another case? When you want to find the case of a knas, you go to a case of a shore killing an eved, and then he doesn't pay because Shloshim Shalevet is a knas. He could have stayed in the same case. Could have stayed in the same case of goring an ox, and the reason why he's not going to pay is because it's a knas to pay tam. Tam only pays a knas. Only a muad is going to pay on his own admittance, but a tam is not going to pay on his own admittance. But the Gemara is not impressed with this either. Kula b'muad kamari wants to talk about a muad. Wants to say a case that even a muad also there's a case, but there's a muad that also is going to have a knas. What's the case? The case is going to be by Shloshim Shalevet. But there wouldn't be a raya to say that tam is always going to be a moment. It could be tam is also a knas, but it wants to talk about a muad. So that's why I went to Shloshim Shalevet. So that was raya number 3, and also it didn't work. All the rayas are going in the direction of proving Palganiska Mamona, and so far we didn't prove it. And now the final raya, it is going to be a good raya, and that's the end of the Mishnah by us. Our Mishnah. Tashma Zak Klal Kala Mishal Yesal Mashi Hizdik Any Mishal Mal Piatzma. It wants to say what's the klal of what's considered a knas. Anybody who pays more than he damaged. If you pay more than you damage, that's going to be a knas. What's the examples? We have kefil, dalad v'hei, or by onis and mafat, they're all paying more than the damages. That's a knas. How about chatzin nezek? Chatzin nezek is less than the damage. Kefil, dalad v'hei, onis and mafat, all those are more than he damaged. How about chatzin nezek? Chatzin nezek does have damages. That's less than he damaged. The Mishnah doesn't say that that's a knas. The Mishnah says a knas is only when you pay more than you damage. Mashma that he would be considered mammon since he's not paying more than he damaged. Isn't that a proof that palganiska mamona? It also shows that it's considered mammon and it's only a knas if he pays more than he damaged. So that's all 4 rights we're going in the same direction that palganiska mamona. But the Gemara here also does not accept the proof. Lo tema hapachas mashizik. Don't derive from our Mishnah that if it was less, the payment is less than he damaged, that it's not considered a knas. The Mishnah means to say that if he pays the amount equal to how much he damaged, that's mammon. But if he pays more or less, it shows. It picked the case of paying more. If you pay more than you damaged, then it's a knas. But if you paid more, if you pay less than you damaged, also it's a knas. That's what it means. But the Gemara doesn't like that. You want to say that if it pays more or less than it damaged, then it's considered a knas. It should have said so. Listen, it wants to say a klal over here. It wants to say what the rule is. So your rule is not accurate. You said whenever you pay more than you damaged, it's a knas. That's not accurate because if you pay less than you damaged, also it's a knas. It should have said, and if you don't pitch as you damage, equal to what you damage, that's a knas because either or more. The mashma pachos mashma yaseh. That would have been a more accurate term to say if you don't pay how much you damage, exactly how much you damage, that means that it's a knas because it's more or less. Since it only says that's a knas if it's more than you damage, so that sounds like if it will be less than you damage, it's not a knas. So that's that thing where at this point does accept. That's a good proof that palganiska mamona. The Gemara's final proof was palganiska mamona. The fact that the Mishnah says it's only a knas if you pay more than you damage. That means if you pay less than you damage, it is not considered a knas. That's a raya that palganiska mamona. What's a knas? If you pay more than you damage, not if you pay less than you damage. So that Mishnah Vayos that says a klal is mashma that palganiska mamona. But the Gemara continues. That's very interesting. He just said tifta. He just disproved the opinion that says palganiska knasa, and then we say that's the halacha. The halacha is palganiska knasa. So we had 4 proofs. All of them were in the direction of palganiska mamona, and the last one seemed to hold, even though the first 3 we were able to get rid of. The pashup shot, all the proofs were in the simply palganiska mamona, but the first 3 we knocked off. But the last one we didn't knock off, and then it still comes around palganiska knasa. Surprise! So that's the most kasha. First you knock him off, and then you say that's the halacha. And the Gemara says because even the last raya we also could deal with. There is a way to paskin that the Mishnah is not a raya. Time of my itosa rishon delok tani kamash hizik. What's your whole proof? The fact that Mishnah doesn't say that if you don't pay as much as you damaged, equal to what you damaged, that's a knas. Why doesn't it say that? Mashma that if you paid less, it's not a knas, and that's a proof that palganis low psiko because it wouldn't be across the board. It wouldn't be true as a I guess you say across the board. Low psiko. It's not a. It wouldn't be a rule. It wouldn't be a davar mukhlat. It wouldn't be an absolute law. Why? Because there is a kind of a payment which is less than you damaged, and over there it is mammon. Even though we're going to say palganiska knasa, when a tam pays half damages, it is considered a penalty, not a mammon. But there is a kind of a chatzi nezek that is going to be mammon, and therefore the Mishnah couldn't say a klal that whenever you don't pay what you damage, it's going to be considered a knas, because there is going to be a case right now which is considered mammon, even though it's less than you damage. And over there mammonahu mishum. There's another kind of a chatzi nezek. This chatzi, till now we spoke about chatzi nezek of Karen. Karen means that somebody damages, ox damages with the intention of damaging. Kavanos of hazik, he wants to damage. So like goring, things like that. So that is machlokis if it's considered palganiska mamon or palganiska knas. The fact that the first 3 times it pays only half damages, is that considered mamon or is it considered knas? And the Gemara is saying it could be that that's a knas. And that's how we pass that it's a knas. But there is another case of chatzi nezek, which is mamon. And what's that? Chatzi nezek shros. Chatzi nezek shros is talking about that a animal is walking, not that it's trying to damage. It's not goring, it's not kicking, it's not pushing. It's walking normal. And usually if an animal walks normal and it steps on something and it damages it, that's called regel. In the terminology of Baba Kama, it's Karen, Shane, and regel. Karen means to do something with the intent of damaging. And regel means it's just going its regular way. It's walking. And in its regular way, it damages something. But there's halacha that sroros is chatzi nezek. What does sroros mean? That it didn't damage it directly, but it damaged it by indirectly, by throwing something. Let's say the word sroros means pebbles. It's walking. And as it walks, so then it walked on pebbles and some of them shot out from under its feet or it kicked it, but not that it was kicking. It wasn't coming to damage. It was just walking regularly. And something got pushed away and it damaged something. Since it wasn't a direct hit, it was indirect through the stones. That's called tzroros, which literally means pebbles. and over there it's Chatzi Nezek, and that's the Lacha Moshe Messina. Over there it is Mammon. Over there it's not Knas. The old time to say it's Knas is only Chatzi Nezek of Keren. When it's doing Kavanah Hazik, it's gory. So then the point is that the animal is not expected to do that, and you didn't have to watch your animal, so it's only Knas that the Torah made. But the fact that the animal walks normally, that's really considered normal, then you should have to watch it. And therefore, the fact that the Torah says Chatzi Nezek, Torah pays Chatzi Nezek, is only Lacha Moshe Sinai, and that is Mammon. And therefore, the Mishnah couldn't say that whenever you don't pay as much as you damaged, it's Knas, because Chatzi Nezek is surely going to be Mammon, even though it's not paying as much as you damaged. It's less. That's why it doesn't say, it only says the absolute statement. The absolute statement is that if you pay more than you damaged, it's always Knas. There's no payment which is more than you damage, that's not Knas. That the Mishnah could say across the board, that's the absolute statement. Whenever you pay more than you damage, it's Knas. But to say that whenever you pay less than you damage is also Knas, that's not true. Even if you hold Palganiska Knasa. If you hold Palganiska Knasa, sometimes when you pay less than you damage, it's going to be Knas. But Chatzinezek Torah says it's going to be a moment. So therefore, there's no proof. So the Gemara had 4 proofs that Palganiska Mamona, all 4 of them we challenged, we refuted the proofs, and there's no proof that Palganiska Mamona, the Gemara Paskins Palganiska Knasa. It doesn't say why you Paskin Palganiska Knasa, it just says that there's no proof Palganiska Mamona, and we do Paskin Palganiska Knasa. And the Gemara continues. We finished the sugya, and the reason why we brought it in is because our Mishnah, there were 2 proofs from our Mishnah. One proof almost worked, but even that didn't work. And we have now the sugya. We finished Palganiska Knasa. That's why we paskin. And the Gemara is just going to say a little bit more about the ramifications of this halacha that Palganiska Knasa. V'hashtav diyam Palganiska Knasa. Hai kal b'dachal imri b'shunu dachal tanagoli rabavi b'shunu v'lo magbinin b'bavel. That Karen, this is the thing about goring, it doesn't only mean goring. It means anything which is not normal. That's what the Gemara says over there in Baba Kama, that is called Mishuna. Anything which is not normal, a normal act of an animal is considered Karen, and it pays half damages. This halacha Palganiska doesn't only apply to goring, it wants to be mazik. Anything which is not normal is going to be considered Karen, and it's going to pay Chatzi Nezek, and it's only Knas. And the 2 cases the Gemara says is a dog that ate a sheep. Dogs don't eat sheep. So if a dog ate a sheep, even though he was doing it to eat it, it wasn't doing it because he wanted to kill it. He wanted to eat it. That's called shame usually, but since it's not normal, so therefore it's considered Palganiska Knasa. And also another case, Shunra the Achel Tanagoli Rabavi, a cat that ate a big hen, a big rooster. So it doesn't usually start up with big roosters. It only with little roosters. So that's also considered Meshuna, and it's Karen, and it's Chatzi Nezek. And therefore, another point that says, Lo Magvin and Babavel. The things that are Knas, penalties, Bezdin and Babavel is not authorized to collect. Means a person might be Chai, if he's Chai Knas, but the Knas only have to be authorized Bezdin and Eretz Yisrael. That Smicha, those are the ones who could enforce the laws of penalties. But the Bezdin and Bavel was not authorized to do that, and therefore in Bavel, if this would have happened, that a dog ate a sheep, or that somebody's cat ate a big rooster, so then there'd be no way to collect it in Bavel, because it's a Knas. We pass now that it's a Knas. If you hold Palganiska Mamona, so then Bezdin is also authorized to take care of Mammon. But since it's a penalty, we hold that Bezdin is Palganiska Knasa. Bezdin is not authorized to collect the payment of Knas. But now we say halachas about this halacha about not collecting in a Knas in Bavel. But if the damaged party, he grabbed the money on his own, means that really the mazik goes him the Palganiska. But Bezdin cannot enforce it. But if the person on his own, then he goes and takes money from him, so then he could keep it. Bezdin doesn't enforce it to collect it. Bezdin doesn't go to collect. But if the person, the nizik himself, went and took Chatzi Nezek from the mazik, so then you don't take it away from him. Another thing that the nizik can do, v'yama ikvu lizimah l'Eretz Yisrael. He says, there's no Bezdin here that could enforce the laws of Knas. I want to go to Eretz Yisrael, to a place where there is smicha, there is a Bezdin that will enforce the laws, and over there I want to collect. So he says to Bezdin, give me a time, make an appointment for me, that then Mazik should come together with me to Eretz Yisrael. There is a Bezdin that will collect the Knas. So then we make such an appointment. We tell him, we tell the Mazik, you must go to Eretz Yisrael. Vilo Azil, if he doesn't go, we put him into Chayrim. You must go to Bezdin. You want to pay, or whatever you want to do. But you can't just say, I'm not going to pay. You have to go to Bezdin, which isn't authorized to collect these payments. The Mishnah ends off, the Gemara ends off the parak. Even if he does go, he doesn't go, but you don't let him have this dangerous animal. He has a dog which is eating sheep. You have a cat which is eating roosters. You don't let him leave a mazik around. We put him at the chayim until he takes care of it, until he kills the dog or whatever he does. He has to make sure that it's not going to damage. Damino lay saluk hazika take away your mazik. The Rabbi Nosan, the Tanya of Nosan Omer, Minan Shlo Yigad Adam Keleb Rabbis of Beso, V'lo Yamud Sulam Rabbis of Beso, Shenema, V'lo Sasim Damim Bevesacha. A person is not allowed to raise a wild dog, a dangerous dog, and he's not allowed to put a shaky ladder in his house because somebody might get damaged from it. It says, "V'lo Sasim Damim Bevesacha." Don't put blood in your house. The Gemara's dashing it means don't put something which could cause blood. Don't put something which is dangerous. So a dangerous dog or a dangerous ladder is also to keep. And we tell the person who has this that he's in chayrim until he gets rid of it. That's the end of the Gemara, end of the parak, end of the day today. That's the Chazovo. What we learned that very simple. We learned the Moed B'Knas Potter. That's the Mishnah. Moed B'Knas Potter. There was a machlokus if by Moed B'Mammon, but this Moed B'Mammon is maybe making a bad rumor about the party that he's talking about. So one madam says that we don't collect it. We don't want to enforce the rumor. But we pass like our Mishnah that you do. And even though we don't believe the facts, but the money you have to pay. The next point was about Palganiska Mamono Palganiska Knasa, and we passed in Palganiska Knasa, even though all the riots for leaning towards Palganiska Mamono, we took care of all the proofs, and we passed in Palganiska Knasa, and the ramifications of that is going to be that in Bavel they can't be collected. Also, Moed B'Knas is potter. If he's Moed, he doesn't have to pay, and in Bavel you don't collect it. If he did grab on his own, so then we let him keep it. We do. He does have the Nizik also has a choice to make an appointment and force the mazik to come with him to Yisrael to a bezdin, which will pass Kedin. And the last thing was that we don't let somebody have dangerous things in his house. If he has an animal that's a mazik, we put him in the chayim until he gets rid of it. In between, we had some more halachas about chas nevela, that the Nizik, besides the chatzi nezik, also the nizik, the whole paskin is nizik kanasa, but the fact that the carcass might deteriorate, that's the nizik responsibility, and if it gets deteriorated, that's his own loss. There's a din of chatzi kofer machlokes. If you pay chatzi kofer, it seems that I'm not sure what we paskin like. Yossi says he does pay chatzi kofer. I think we paskin like the other shita that there's no payment of chatzi kofer by a time, and I think that's more or less everything that we did. Yes, everybody. Thank you.
How much does the person have to put in the effort?